downstairs in a couple of minutes. Has everybody made themselves comfortable? They got themselves refreshments. That's good. Okay. So my topic is very simple. It's how to read an MSDS sheet. I have hoped that you guys actually know how to do this, but I've taken it right back to the basics because I intended that I'm going to give it to Alison to give to the 4th years as well. So that they know, so they can read an MSDS sheet, get an idea of what's going on. So, if this works properly, you guys should all be familiar with this one, these ones here, okay? For those of you who aren't aware of them, this is the one that we recommend, which is a mini MSDS sheet, okay? But we also have the availability to get a full MSDS sheet. Now, the difference between the two, as you can see, is we're missing quite a lot of information. If you have a look at the, if you have a look at the full MSDS sheet, there's actually 16 things that they list, and there's lots of information within those 16 things. Okay, and that includes things like identification, the hazards identification, the poisons, the toxicology. Yeah. Can you do that?
Oh, just thinking. No.
Oh, yes, it is. Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. The things that you really, so there's lots of information there. In fact, it's pretty much overload for most people. So on the next one, with the mini ones, we have basically that information, and I don't know whether this is going to work or not. Well, look, yeah. My daughter helped me. There's actually only 6 things on this one that tell you basically the information that you've got. And a lot of the stuff in here, like the ingredients, it will tell you certain things. It tells you a load of things within the ingredients list. It will tell you what the CAS number is and what the hazard rating is and that sort of thing. The hazard information tells you particularly what the chemicals are, what the hazard rating of the chemical is. Come on, what's going on here? Oh, yeah. The precautions to use, so what the recommendations of the PPE, what sort of methods you should be using. Properties, rather important things like does it have a large, does it have a very low flash point or something like that that might be of importance to you. Okay. The emergency information, what you're not supposed to do if you have a spills or emergencies, first aid, that sort of thing. Storage is also very important. Okay. But the thing that you must remember is that this is only a guide. Okay? If you have any questions or it highlights anything for you, that's the thing that you basically should refer back to the original one. Okay? The first thing that you guys should look at is this bit here. Across the top here is a colour, particularly in it really works well if you print it out in colour. If it works if it prints out in black and white, it's going to be a bit more difficult for you to identify.
You know, what if you're colourblind?
Then the same thing here as if it's black and white. There's a little number over the corner. Okay. Basically, it means if it's I'll show you the next one. This basically comes down to if it's blue, then it's non-hazardous and you don't have to worry about it. But when you get to the orange and the red, they are considered to be highly hazardous. So you guys should be looking at it and trying to work out why it's considered hazardous and where you should, or what the problems are and what you need to be looking for. Okay. It works off the system on the large sheet, the large MSDS sheet, which is a system here which has got flammability, toxicology, body contact, reactivity, and whether it's chronic effects. Okay. And what they've done in the MSDS sheets is they've gone through and they've looked at the information and said, okay, this stuff is hazardous for your health. Okay, so in some cases here, this one here is actually for acetic acid. Now everybody's familiar with it. There's nothing really amazing, but it says body contact is high, so therefore that's why it has an orange, an orange thing on it. Okay. Actually, no, I tell a lie. That's actually gone up to a 4, so that's why it's a red. So therefore it's an actual thing. It's actually considered to be highly reactive or highly hazardous for you guys. I should have actually pointed out at the back here, this bit here, these are the hazard symbols for the equipment, for the solutions or the chemicals that you're dealing with. Most of them will have one symbol. It is corrosive or it's flammable, but in some cases they will have several. Okay. The thing that you need to know is this system I believe, works on a very simple system of how fast will it kill you. Okay? These things, number one is explosives. Okay, so if you get hit by an explosive, it's going to kill you instantly. Okay, whether it's 1 second or 0.1 of a second, doesn't matter, you're going to die. The next size down goes down to level 2, which is actually gases, poisonous gases. The gases can be put into either flammable gases or other gases, which is inert gases, pretty much. The flammable gases will kill you faster than the inert gases, but they will kill you the same. Okay. The third one is flammable liquids. So depending on how fast they kill you, it's basically giving you an idea. So if you see a flammable liquid, then you know that there's a reasonable chance that you're going to get injured. If it's a 3.1, it means that it's got a very low flash point, and that means that you've got more hazard compared to a 3.3, which is less likely to cause burst in flames instantaneously. Okay. Come on, what's going on here? Oh, yeah. So, as I said, these things here, this is the top one, it's got a code 4, so that will basically is highlighting it for you. It then tells you also the code. Now, believe it or not, acetic acid is actually flammable as well. I had thought it was just a corrosive, but in reality it is actually flammable. So, what you're looking for is looking for storage. If you would normally look at this bit first, but then you've got also potential to store it here. Okay. The other thing that you need to be aware of is over here. Okay, there's usually on hazardous materials you'll find things like TWA and LD50, okay, and LC50. Now TWA is a threshold weighted average. That's how much you're allowed to be exposed to in an 8-hour period per cubic metre of material, or as a powder or solid. Okay. Now we go through and we tell the students when they come in that they need to look at that. Everything will kill them at some point, but they need to look at it and think about what the likelihood is. One of the cases I've been given them is that they are given a chemical, and it's 5 grams per kilogram. Will basically expose them to give them a 50% chance of dying. Now, 5 grams per kilogram. If I'm 80 kilos on my best day, I would have to eat 400 grams of material. And I then ask them, okay, what's the likelihood of me eating 400 grams in a day? Accidentally. Yeah, okay. So they're not going to worry about that. If it's 400 milligrams in a day, then they should be thinking about it. If it's 400 micrograms in a day, then they really need to look at how they're handling it, what they're doing with it. Okay, so that's the sort of thing I'm trying to encourage these guys to think about. And as you can see, these are global harmonizing standard pictures here. So this one means flammable, this one means toxic, this one means corrosive, and you basically will come through those on a regular basis. The beauty of the FX Gold system is that they, if you tag on them, you can have a look at them on the computer system. They will basically tell you what it is and what the toxicology is. It doesn't actually show you on the sheet, but it will basically point that way for you. Oh, actually, sorry, I should have pointed that out. Another way of indicating is that there's possibly a hazard is also look at the packing group. Okay, if it's a packing group 1, then they will basically wanting to make sure that it is very, very secure and very safe without breakers. You don't want to break anything, so they basically make it a very high standard of packaging to protect it when they're transporting it. That's just another quick look indication for yourself to check it. Okay, if it gets down to packing group 3, then it can be basically wrapped in a piece of paper and sent away. It's not going to be a problem for them. So, for supervisors and lab managers, these are the 2 things that you guys need to be aware of. Okay, the first off, particularly you guys, if you're buying chemicals, that's what you want to look for. You want to know whether it's been gazetted by the EPA in New Zealand. Environmental Protection Agency registers all the chemicals that are used in New Zealand. Okay? If it hasn't been gazetted by New Zealand, then it is not approved for use in New Zealand, which means that you guys have to go through a really, really strict regime about how you use it and how you handle it, how you dispose of it, because it is not approved for use anywhere in New Zealand. And we're using our university exemption to use this material. Okay?
Just a question. So this MSDS sheet is from a New Zealand specific
All the MSDS sheets that we've got are registered for chemicals that are basically have the potential to be used in New Zealand. It's basically drawn from information from overseas. And what happens when it's gazetted in New Zealand is that it will basically be, it's brought into New Zealand and it's approved for use in New Zealand. That's the beauty of the FX Gold system, is it basically covers a whole range of chemicals, and they don't actually have to be gazetted, but if they've been brought into New Zealand, then they'll be in the system for us to use. Okay? If it is gazetted in New Zealand, it means that it's been approved for use in New Zealand. Okay? And that means that we don't have this as strict a set of rules that we have to follow. The other thing you guys will see here is that these things here have got hazards. So there's a whole, probably 6 pages of H numbers, and they tell you different things about the hazards. You can actually read that. You can actually look on there, and they'll tell you things like maybe corrosive to metals or those sorts of things. Some of them might be appropriate, some of them may not be.
So, sorry, maybe my question wasn't really answered. Is this for the fourth? Say we tell the fourth-year students to get an MSDS sheet.
Yeah.
They have to get it from the FX
Yes.
system.
Yeah.
So that's critical if they want this information. Is that correct? Or if let's say they Google the MSDS sheet.
If they Google the MSDS sheet, that's fine. They can Google the MSDS sheet.
Okay.
They can pull anyone that they like and they can have a look at it. We encourage them to use this one
Okay.
because it has a standard bit set up and it makes it very nice and simple for us. In my lab 235, I've probably got 300 chemicals.
So will this database be accessible by for students?
Yes,
Can
yeah,
they-
it's
okay,
available
all
for
right.
everybody at the
Okay,
university.
all right.
It's actually on our website.
Ah,
So if you go to the Putting Safety First page,
yes.
there's actually the link to the FX Gold site there, okay, and you can get into that and look at that information.
We used to talk about this to the second years, but I think it was the wrong time. But,
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah, but I think definitely talking to the fourth years about this is a good idea.
Yeah. We encourage them to do it, and we also direct them to there. Whether they use it or not is another matter. For you guys, it's pretty much, it's ideal for you guys because it's basically almost designed for the university system. It tells us exactly what you need to know very quickly, and it also will flag the things that you guys need to be concerned about. If you deal with students that have come in with this exotic chemical, I need this chemical, and they put it in front of you and you go, really? Are you sure you want to use this chemical? Okay, because it's got a big red flag on it to start with.
So
Okay.
you've got uranium 238 from
That's the one. Yeah.
from Alibaba and
So there's a load of hazard ones. There's also if you flick the page on some systems it might actually call it risk as well. There's another risk set of assessments as well, and they are basically what the likelihood of something happening is as well. I haven't figured out how the hell that they change between the two, but the hazard one is probably the ideal one for us to look at. The other thing you guys should be looking at, particularly for the lab managers, is the storage thing here. Now that's on the bottom of the page. I'll go back to it on the bottom on the right hand side. It actually tells you here with crosses and zeros and that where it should be stored. So if you're asking for something to be brought into a lab, if Ashman is asking me to bring in a chemical, I'll look at it and I'll go, okay, Ashman, you want uranium. I need to put this in a uranium store. Do you have one of those? And he'll go, no. And I go, okay, would you like me to order you one? It's going to cost this much. And then at that point he'll make that decision if he wants to spend the money. But it gives you that idea.
I'll probably be requesting Organic stuff, but that's...
Okay. So it basically it gives you that information all in pictorial form again. For our undergraduates, pretty much this is what the information they're going to be looking for. Okay, the safety gear. So do they need to wear safety glasses or a full face visor? They need to wear gloves. They need to wear overalls, and in some cases, this one here, they need to have a spark-proof fan, and they should keep it away from static electricity or those sorts of information. The things that you guys might need to know about as gloves. Okay, the gloves there are listed on there as the 3 best types of gloves that they're going to use, that they should be using. They are not always completely safe. They are the 3 best choices of glove. Okay? Some gloves, with a load of the chemicals, we actually find that the gloves do not actually protect this person at all. The best way of protecting somebody is not to handle the material. Okay, but the gloves are there as an additional barrier. To give an example, Von plays with formic acid. Formic acid on latex gloves is basically pointless. Formic acid goes straight through latex gloves. So we give them nitrile gloves, which is the next best option. But nitrile gloves only have a certain amount of time or exposure to it. So if you spill it on your hands, that's protection for you a little bit. But you should take them off and replace them. You shouldn't be immersing your hands, gloved hands, in formic acid because it's not going to protect you. So have a look at that, and if you have any doubts at all, go back to the original master one, and it will tell you that. Exactly, yep.
Okay, so another question I had, so if they've got a gas mask up there, does that mean that students should be handling it with a gas mask?
It comes down to levels. So if you, with the gas mask type arrangement, if you're dealing with formic acid in a 5 ml flask and under the extraction unit, then you probably won't need it. If you're dealing with 2.5 litre bottles that you're pouring into an extraction unit, then maybe you should be looking at that sort of arrangement. But it comes down to those sorts of, the volumes that you're dealing with. We had one with, a member of staff came to me and asked me about a chemical that was being used for, being provided from a sample that was being sent to us by biology, and they had said that there's sodium azide in their sample. And I said, okay. He said, is it dangerous? It's really dangerous stuff. I can't use it. I go, well, actually, what's the level that you're dealing with? And he sort of said, well, it's about 5%. So it's less than 1% in the solution that they're making. And then I said, how big's the sample? He says, oh, less than 1 gram. And what are you doing with it? And he goes, oh, I'm doing this. And it's like, okay, so you're talking about a 1% sample and a 1 gram sample, and you're taking a portion of it. The likelihood of you getting injured by this material is tiny, but it comes down to you making those assessments. So it and when it comes to that sort of thing, guys, I would recommend that you write it down. Write down your thinking about it. Okay, just so that you've got your logic covered, so that if there is a problem at a later stage, you can say, yes, this is what I had thought about. I didn't think it was a problem for us. The fact that your next student has decided that they're going to upscale everything by 1,000 and deal in kilograms and haven't discussed it with you is their problem, because they haven't discussed the changes in the policy.
They should be done as part of the SOP or HAZOP.
As a part of the HAZOP, yes, that sort of thing. The other thing over here for the students is the emergency, is the emergency setup here. So this one is very simple. Fire extinguisher's got water on it. So basically it says that you need a water fire extinguisher to deal with acetic acid fire. Okay? It says, tells them to get bed rest. If you get it in their eyes, they need an eye wash. They need to have a shower and then get them straight to the hospital. That's very simple information for them, but it gives us the student the ability to know what they're supposed to do if they have a problem.
It's quite disturbing that the hospital needs you to be clean first before you go.
Yes. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. If I remember rightly, that's the last one. Yes, hooray, that's it. Do you guys have any questions?
Is this, so this could be a good thing for the 4th years?
Yeah, would be, yeah, very good.
How to read the MSDS sheet.
Yeah. It's something that I find quite regularly. When you get the students come in and they'll talk to you and they go, do you know where the MSDS sheets are? Yes. Okay, do you know how to read one? No. And you go, well, okay, this is the information. If you have any questions, come and ask me. Don't feel afraid about it. You need to basically come and talk to us about it and ask us. Because if you don't know, that's what we encourage them to say. Don't know, they need to talk to us about it. Okay? And for you guys as academic staff members and mentors and that sort of thing, this is the stuff you guys need to sort of try and encourage them to think about. It's not telling them that everything's going to kill them, because as 4th years they don't believe that at all. But they need to be encouraged. Yeah. But then, yeah. So that's pretty much it. Anything you guys want me to clarify for you? I don't know, you didn't get asked to ask that question about flash proof, the flash, the quick the lower flash point of ethanol or something like that? No? Okay. Cool.
That was very useful.
Okay,
Thank
good,
you.
thanks.
Thanks, Rob.